It's that time of the year. It's the first podcast before the season starts. We'll be doing the View from the Ninian patented season preview here on the podcast. And joining me as always, Ben Price, Tom Phillips. Ben Price, how are you?
I'm loving the energy you're bringing there.
Thanks very much. I've been drinking a lot of water this morning. Tom Phillips, can you hear us down under?
Yes, I can. I'm not sure how long I'll last before this gets quite tiring. You know,
I was going to say that joke will probably... Yeah, that joke will probably last another couple of weeks before I think we see the visible anger in your face when you join the call. Yeah, so don't worry. It will stop at some point. Lads, it's the last podcast. I said first podcast, but the last podcast before the season starts next week with a home game against Sunderland. We have a lot to get through, including our predictions, our tables, what's going to happen this season. But first, let's start with the last couple of games that have happened in pre-season. Ben, started with a win against Reading, home game against Reading earlier in the week. Good win for Cardiff City. Callum Robinson scored another couple of goals. That's 6 goals in pre-season. He's starting well, isn't he, in pre-season? It looks like he's making a run for the first team.
He seems to have a bit between his teeth, doesn't he? He seems really up for it and wanting to prove that he can be the man. I think, like we said before, he likes being the main man in a squad.
Yeah.
He likes being that bloke. And I think now he's really going out of his way to try and earn it with Bullet, and I'm all for that. If he carries on like this, what a player we're going to have. I
think so, Tom. It kind of transpired in the post-match interview that he's had another frank conversation with Errol Bullet, where it seems like they've kind of ironed out their differences. To you, is Callum Robinson the kind of player that you kind of need to put an arm around and give him that confidence rather than put a rocket up his arse?
I think he needs a combination of both, to be honest, because I think he needed to be told last season that it just wasn't acceptable. But he's definitely a little bit more kind of, I think, fragile on the feedback. Let's put it that way. So I think you do need to get that. You need to get it right with him. You need to know when to tell him, that's not acceptable, and when to tell him he's the best player in the world. Because a fit and fire in Robinson could be massive for us this season. And you don't want to give him any special treatment compared to other players, because that kind of ruins the vibe in a squad. But we've had players in the past who, had the tendency to throw the toys on the pram or needed to be like mollycoddled in certain ways. When you look at people like Michael Chopra and stuff like that, I don't think he would have taken too well to being told what to do constantly. And we managed to get the best out of someone like him. So perhaps we need the same sort of treatment for Robbo.
Michael Chopra and his ice cream and 6 can of Cokes. Ben, obviously one of the goals came from a great Louis Giles cross. Another youngster kind of coming through the ranks, making a kind of impact in pre-season. We've already talked about, and we'll talk about it later with Jamilu Collins out injured, Callum O'Dowd having to fill in at left back. Could someone like Louis Giles make an impact this season?
I think the option's there, isn't it? I think it's clear Bullett's not 100% convinced on bagging out at left back. We need cover there. So, look, the opportunity's there. If he gets a chance to play there, a couple of cup games or whatever, there's 100% there's a chance he can have the shirt like longer term and sort of make it a real strong sort of appearance in the first team sort of later in the year.
And that cross, Ben, was a cross of a player who's a few years older, isn't it? Like, it was so weighted well. It was just put nicely across the front of the goal and left everything for Callum Robinson to do. Like, a mature head on young shoulders, it seems.
Yeah, I think that's what's impressed me from all the youngsters, though. None of them have come in and looked sort of nervous on the ball. Like, sometimes we've had in the past where youngsters have come in and we thought they've got a bit of potential, but you can tell they're not used to playing senior football. Near enough every one of these young lads that have come in have really come in going, right, I'm ready for this, and I'm ready to prove I'm good enough to do it. So, yeah, again, like you said, hell of a ball, like clever, just putting it in the right spot. Doesn't look out of place in this, and all for it.
And Tom, to expand on that a little bit from Ben, obviously the team that played against Reading was quite a young team, wasn't it? We saw people like Giles getting games, so Eli King getting a game for the first time this preseason. There were still some of the older heads. Talked about Robbo, Cole was in there as well, alongside Mate. But at the core, it was a very young team. And how exciting is it from both a Cardiff and a Wales perspective that we seem to have a genuine youth core of players coming through now who can make an impact on the first team?
Yeah, it's ridiculously exciting because a lot of like pre-seasons in the past, we've had young players playing, but it felt like it was done for the sake of it. Like, this is the time to play them. But these look like they fit in. And like these look like players that can have an impact, if not in the first few months, but further down the season when, we are lacking a bit of depth and things like that. We've had players come and join squads in the past and not really make it onto the field. But we're hearing names now of players that I haven't heard of, and I don't follow the youth teams that closely, but sometimes you knew what the youth players who were going to be in the squad were. Now I'm like, Louis Giles, who's this? Like genuinely not heard of him. I know we had Kabaki, like a few.
Well, he's come from nowhere in pre-season, hasn't he?
Yeah, and that's what's super exciting about it. It's not just, there's Ashford because we need to fill like a youth coach on the bench or anything like that. These are genuine players we haven't heard of who've settled in straight away. So I'm very excited because it is so much better when you have a youth product come through and play for your first team. It just adds that little extra percentage of excitement during games.
Skipping ahead now to the Bristol game that took place yesterday. Ben, Bristol Rovers, they're a League One football side. They're on the cusp of maybe mid-table in that division. Nice sunny day down at the Memorial Stadium. And it was a pretty easy victory, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, I think we controlled near enough the whole game. I think towards the end of this first half, it got a bit... Bristol had a little bit of spell, but they didn't really do a lot with it. We just looked... You could tell who was the championship side there, and in the past, that hasn't been the case at sort of this stage in pre-season. We've gone into these games and sort of come out and go, oh, God. But it was really, really comfortable, really played well. And you can see exactly what's been worked on in pre-season as well. I feel like that's the really encouraging thing. There's patterns of play, there's movement, there's players getting in the box. It feels like a lot of the criticisms that people had of Bullet and his style towards the end of last season, the middle of last season, all of those seem to be addressed in these preseason games.
Yeah, I was at the game yesterday, and I think one of the things that I noticed, there were two things I really noticed. The first one was that we've obviously been working on passing in kind of close quarters. I think when the ball, I don't necessarily love it, but it's nice to see that we're trying something when the goalkeeper's giving it to the centre half, or the centre half's giving it to the goalkeeper, and then we're spreading the play wide, bringing it back in, then going through the centre. I think it's an option we haven't had before. Usually we just take a long goal kick and hope for the best, but having that ability to play it out from the back, and I think there was times, and you could see it with the way that the team set up. Our fullbacks pushed further up the pitch, the centre half split, and you had a midfielder coming back to collect the ball. That creates so much space on the pitch that we can then exploit. And I think that's how, when you looked at Ramsey's goal in particular, I think that's how that goal came about. Was it all kind of built from the back? It was a bit slower perhaps than it should be, but it built from the back, and then Willock and O'Dowda were able to exploit the space and get the ball over to Ramsey for him to have that shot. So there was a lot to be encouraged about. One thing not to be encouraged about is the impatience from Cardiff fans still. Even when we were trying to pass it out from the back, I heard a few shouts of, just lump it, man. So I think that's going to be taking some getting used to. But I think, to your point, Ben, we absolutely controlled the game. I think Bristol had one clear-cut chance that I think was a mistake from us. I think CO gave the ball away and Horvath had to come out and clear it. But apart from that, it was very comfortable for us. Tom, let's talk about the goals. Ramsey's goal to open the scoring. A lovely bit of interlinking play between him and Willock. He referenced it in the post-match interview, talking about the kind of close quarters passing and making those triangles. How great was it to see Ramsey? Kind of, that's Ramsey in his pomp, isn't it? No backlift, clean strike just across the keeper into the far corner.
Just every goal he scores is so aesthetically pleasing. It's just like, it's such a lovely
so
strike.
Cleanly.
Yeah, and it's like an arrogance about it, but not in a horrible way. It's a confidence rather than an arrogance, I'd say. Like, he's just so good to watch, and he's such a calming influence on like all the players around him. I think there was a swagger about this at times in that game that I haven't seen, and I know it's pre-season, so the pressure's off, but like having him in there just really brings the best of the players around him as well. But it's a sublime finish. Like, and that's what we need to see this year, is a couple more goals like that in moments where, we're struggling in games. Like we saw it a couple of times early in the season last year, like at Leicester, where we just weren't in the game and then he pulls that from nowhere. If we see that a couple of times this season, then we're on to, like, we'll win games we shouldn't win, because that's the type of player he is. But it's really, really good to see that in pre-season, because, it gets the fans, and it gives the fans a lift, but the players around him as well would be looking at that thinking, we have still got a world-class player in this squad.
And then, Ben, I mean, we'll talk about the other chances we made, because I think it's a fair point, Tom, but I also think we created a lot of other chances that could have won the game as well. Mate hit the bar, we forced a couple of good saves, but you're right. The goals kind of came out of nowhere in that sense. And I think then the second goal from Ralls was arguably as good, if not better. We were right behind that goal, and he hit it with such pace and such swerve that when he hit it, it looked like it was going wide, and it somehow snuck it. I think it hit the side netting in the top corner rather than going into the postage stamp. How important is it for someone like Ralls to show what he can do? You know, Ralls, we've talked about it. We love Joe Ralls. He's been at the club for so long. He deserves a lot more praise than he gets, but he sometimes isn't the most flashy of players. But doing something like that then reminds people that he can do it as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, and he does this. Like, it doesn't feel like pre-season without Ralls scoring an absolutely ridiculous goal.
Yeah.
So if it's a pre-season goal of the season contender, Ralls normally wins it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, I think it's good. There's a lot of talk about, and we'll come on to transfers later, but like a number 8 coming in to really push him for his place. I think we need that, but people do underestimate how important Ralls has been as well. They, like, just on Twitter yesterday, there was a lot of like talk about how Ralls makes us different, makes us just a better side. And someone pointed out, which I didn't realize, we didn't actually win a game without Ralls in the squad, without Ralls on the pitch last season. To which someone replied, "That's just coincidence," which it clearly isn't. But yeah, it shows just how important he is. And just the one thing I've always sort of had with Ralls is he needs to score more. His record for the amount he's played and sort of his ability as well, because we know he's capable of scoring goals from ridiculous things. He just tends to sort of look for the pass instead of having a go at times. Is if he's going to start adding goals to his game, now's the perfect time to do it. The talk of an 8 coming in, someone to really kick us on. He needs that competition. I think then we'll get the best out of him as well.
Yeah, I think Bullet really trusts Ralls, obviously, which is why he's the captain and why he's the kind of, you know, he's always in when he can play. And I think what Ralls brings to the team, that I'll say his name in about 4 different ways today, Ralls, whatever it is. I'll just go with the flow whenever I say it. I think what he brings to the team when he's on the pitch is just, I noticed it. I think I talked about it in the pod last year, the Plymouth game when I was sat pitch side. Like, he gets the ball and the first thing he does is puts it out of his feet to then look up to see what he can do. And I think that's something that someone like Ryan Wintle doesn't do, right? Wintle's kind of approach is always to take a touch and turn backwards and try and find the easy pass that way. Ralls looks up and tries to find the first pass that he can make a positive impact with. I think that's what people don't really see and don't really consider that Ralls does. And I think that's why he's so important to midfield. And I think you're right. Alex Robertson might come in. We'll talk about transfers in a bit. But I think Alex Robertson's a different type of player. From what I've seen of him, he's more with the ball at his feet and he'll run on and try and take people on and try and get the ball forward that way. He will play the progressive passes as well. But Ralls isn't the player who's going to run past 3 or 4 players in the middle of the park. Robertson might be that. And I think it's important to have 2 players who kind of complement each other. If Robinson's a more progressive player, he could potentially fill in when Ramsey is injured or when Ruben Colwell's injured as well, which Wintle couldn't do last year in the 10. So I think that's the importance of signing another 8. It's not to replace Joey Ralls. Tom, I touched upon it at the start. We were obviously playing it out from the back a bit more yesterday, but I think one of the players who was key to that was Callum Chambers. Obviously, it was his first start, at least the first time that we've seen a kind of a bigger performance from him. How composed he was with the ball. Like, people were flinging the ball to him at knee-high level, and he takes it down and finds that first pass. How crucial will he be to kind of changing the way we play out from the back? Instead of lumping it forward, I think Gutas is very good with the ball at his feet, but instead of lumping it forward, Chambers is always going to try and find the man closest to him, isn't he?
Yeah, it's the reason why I think I'm excited by that signing more than the others, to be honest. I think there's a reason he's played so much Premier League football and he hasn't really played lower than that, because he's a quality player. And I think if he gets going this season, he's going to be absolutely paramount. Because, like, we were defensively solid at times last year, but we did kind of lack that kind of killer pass from the back into midfield to kind of get us up the field. And he's going to add that. He's so calm on the ball. And you look at the spine of the team then, if you've got the likes of Ramsey further up, you've got Chambers at the back and stuff as well. We've got football players then, like, front and back. And I'm just really, really excited to see him play this year, because I think he could be an absolute game changer. And I think it's kind of gone under the radar a little bit outside of the club. But then again, anyone's really getting excited about it apart from us. And maybe we're not getting as excited about it as we probably should because of the other signings that we've made. But I think it could be an absolute blinding signing.
I think we're more focused on, I think as fans, we look further up the pitch, don't we? Which is why people like Kanga and Willock are probably the more focused, while Chambers is kind of, it's a fair point. Talking about players who play football, Ben, Yaku Mete, bit of a frustrating first half, but I thought he was very good in the second half. It was his cross that led to Ralls' goal. He hit that ball so hard across the box, and it kind of ended up back at Ralls. He hit the bar himself. He had a couple of really good headers in the second half where he, by right, shouldn't really have won the ball, but he got there in front of him. it's encouraging, isn't it? I think we'll talk about Kanga as well, because obviously Kanga's come in. Mate kind of fills in on the left. He fills in up front. He's a bit part player, but he showed yesterday how he could be an important player as a target man, didn't he?
Yeah, that's what really impressed me was, like you were saying about him getting in front of defenders to try and win stuff he shouldn't have won. There was a couple that he really battled to get in front of defenders and won the ball that he didn't really do last year. That's where it got frustrating with him, and that's where he'll get goals I don't think other players in this squad will score. It's just because he's an absolute battler on the ball. Yeah, he really impressed me. I wasn't thrilled with confidence and stuff. I said to you, like, outside of the striker issue, I feel it's a team that can challenge the top 6, that starting 11. I wasn't too thrilled to see him there. Sometimes I think he's better out wide, but really sort of made me think he is an option up top if we need to throughout the season. It's another rotation option, like we said with Robertson coming in roles. I think the days of players playing every game flat out is not really going to happen. We need to utilize the squad and have different options for different scenarios. And he's someone that, if you've played 75 minutes and you've absolutely been battered by Kanga, and he comes off and Mate comes on, that's not going to happen. Defenders aren't going to like that. He's really sort of played himself in there where I thought he's going to play like Robinson. I thought it wouldn't have hurt if he had gone. He's suddenly come in and I'm thinking he's definitely an option for the season now.
Well, yeah, I think especially with the injuries and stuff, obviously Atete potentially out for a couple of months. I think Mate's going to be between Kanga and Mate unless we sign somebody else, which obviously is a point of conversation as well. We can get to transfers and stuff shortly. Tom, Kanga came on for the last 15 minutes. He's going to need time, isn't he? I think we're all very excited about signing the striker who scored 12 goals for Standard Liège last year. I think he looks like the part. He looks like the kind of player who's going to fit in, but he came on 15 minutes. The game was dying down at that point anyway, so I will say that, but didn't really get on the ball. But I just want, he's going to be a good player. He just needs that time, doesn't he?
Well, he needs more than 15 minutes, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I think we're very quick to judge these types of players. It's because we want so much from them and we want them to be good. So we're kind of looking for something instantly. But yeah, he's got a completely new squad, completely different league. He won't have played in many grounds like Bristol Rovers either. So, it's going to take a little bit of time for him, but I'm still really, really excited. And like you're saying earlier, it's another option. If we want to change the style of play now, we've got options to do that. So, yeah, I'm not going to write him off just yet. But yeah, I think in a month's time, I think he could be an absolute asset.
He also looked absolutely delighted to be able to do the Ayatollah. I think he had the broadest smile on his face when he realizes that's what we wanted, and I think that's going to endear him to the Cardiff fans as well. So I'm all in on Kanga already. Overall, I think pre-season Ben has been quite encouraging, hasn't it? We only lost to Kidderminster. We've scored a lot of goals. We look like we've instigated a new style of play, a couple of different ways of playing. We play further up the pitch. We're playing it out from the back. We're much more attacking. I'm encouraged. Are you encouraged, Ben?
I am. I was disappointed not to pick up 9 points out in Austria, but you can't have everything. No. The refusal of Eli King to do to sing a song to the City fans as well also didn't sit too well with me, despite them asking for 90 minutes solidly. He said no 3 times, and fair play to them. Didn't stop.
They carried on.
Yeah,
they carried on.
Showing the tenacity everyone needs throughout this season. But I'm really, really excited for the season now. I've got a good feeling. It's just going to be fun. There's sort of we're out of the unknown. Sort of. I really don't see us being in a relegation battle, and I can't wait for this clip to come back and bite me on the ass this time.
I was about to say it's a good job we started putting these on YouTube, Ben, because your face is going to be all over this. Yeah, but I do. I agree. I'm optimistic as well. I'm just trying not to get ahead of myself. That's all I'd say, Ben.
I'm not getting ahead. I'm just excited.
Good.
I'm looking forward to not having to worry about getting battered by every team. The league's closer this year. We're playing some nice stuff so far. There's a lot of encouraging signs there, and I just want to enjoy football again.
Tom, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, jovial Ben Price makes me feel really uneasy. But no, I completely agree with him though. It is genuinely quite exciting, and I think the part that's even more exciting is everyone is writing us off again. Yeah. Looking at the odds for we're third favourites to go down.
We're 3-1.
And I'm like, yeah, it's madness, right? We're 66-1 to win the league. I know we're not going to win the league, but I mean, just as a judge, they think we're well off it. And then there's like, I'm not even a quiet optimism. There's just a genuine optimism around our fan base going into this season. So yeah, I'm really excited as well. And you know, in the words of Ryan of Alternative Wales, he says, "I've got a zest for life," apparently. But I'm feeling fairly zesty going into the season.
I haven't seen it yet, Tom. Right. I mean, to cause more excitement, Ben, let's talk about some transfers and rumours. Obviously, we've already touched upon Wilfred Kanga. 12 goals on loan at Standard Liège last year. Seems to score all types of goals. We've got him on loan for the season. Is he what we need up front, Ben? Is he the missing link in our strikers?
I feel like it is, yeah. Watching that YouTube, I know it's the death knell of any signings to see him on YouTube and sort of judge him off that. But like, he scored every kind of goal, and that's what you want out of a striker. It's sort of, so a lot of our strikers sort of been one note things are sort of right. Cabba was very much in that 6-yard box, hope the ball somehow falls to him and he'll somehow knock it in with any part of his body. Ugbo was similar, sort of, but the ball just didn't get to him. We've needed a bit of versatility in the player, and he seems to offer that. And he just looks like a lovely bloke, doesn't he? He looks as excited to be here as we are to have him, and that feels like it's going to be a good combination.
Tom, it's the $1 million question. Do you think he'll have the impact we want him to have?
Yes.
It.
No,
Good.
I'm going to say let's keep the zestiness going.
Look who's here! It's Ryan March.
But I hope he does. To be fair, I think it's the type of player we've been looking for a while. Like, we're looking for a player who can make that type of impact. And yeah, he looked like, you can't underestimate how much someone wanting to be here can help. And we've actually got quite a lot of players who look like they're enjoying themselves at the moment, because you don't want to go into the season already miserable. So he's turned up, he's having a good time, and good people having a good time sometimes perform well. So I'm looking. I reckon he might have the impact we're all hoping.
We've had plenty in the past who haven't wanted to be here, and it's shown massively.
Yes, exactly.
So yeah, you're completely spot on with that.
I mean, we all loved Kiefer Moore for that season, but the second season he was here, he clearly didn't want to be here, and we still love him. So I think Kanga deserves 1,000 praise points just for that. Ben, the player we've managed 22 minutes without mentioning so far is another signing that was confirmed over the last week. One that I still can't quite get my head around that we have signed, but Anwar El Ghazi, formerly of Aston Villa, Everton, PSV, Lille, I think, has signed for a season. Ben, did you think that we'd be signing a player like that during this preseason?
No, it came out of nowhere as well, didn't it? It just absolutely from nowhere. Like, 1 minute there's no talk of him, the next minute my mate's texting me who works in Costa and Cowbridge going, he's just seen him outside. It's sort of come to that sort of thing. It's a wild one, but what a signing if it comes off. Like, it's a bit of a risk because
it has come off. He's confirmed.
But you know what I mean. As in, like, if he comes good and sort of plays anywhere near like he's done before, like you saw what he did with Villa, like, it's a bloody quality player to have in this squad. Like, really excited for him as well.
So I got told about it early, and this is why. And I'm going to tell you a story about why we as a podcast don't do any in the know stuff. And that's because I got told about the transfer earlier in the week before anybody else had reported it on Twitter, and it was potentially happening. And then within 2 days, I was told it had all fallen through. And then on the same day that it had fallen through, I was told that it was back on. So, there's people on Twitter who are happy to be in the know and happy to post about things that they hear. But we don't do it because we'd have gone, oh, he's coming. Oh, no, it's fallen through. Oh, no, wait, he is coming. And all that kind of stuff. So we're not here to kind of pass on that information. But I'm just telling you, for clarity, exactly how it unfolded during the week. Because I was told at the start of the week that it was going to happen, and then by a couple of days later, I think it was Wednesday, it was gone, and then Sky Sports reported it, and then it was back on, and then it was obviously all confirmed at the friendly on Thursday. So it was quite a week for the El Ghazi signing. But Tom, it's a statement signing, isn't it? But we do have to temper the expectations here. Bullett's already mentioned that he obviously hasn't played, I think, since November of last year, which is when he Mainz in Germany. It's going to take him a few weeks to get up to speed, but when he gets up to speed, he's the kind of player who could just make a difference for us, right? In those kind of games where you need that bit of quality, he's got that, hasn't he?
Yeah, 100%. And we've got a few of those players now who've come in that we're probably going to say the same things. Like if it clicks with him, he's going to be unreal. And I think that's going to be the difference this year. Is like someone like him clicking, someone like Chambers clicking, someone like Ramsey playing game time is the difference between us finishing 17th or 7th or maybe even higher. Like we've got some absolute game changers in our squad, which we've lacked for seasons. And like you sent me a picture saying we might be signing him, and I didn't expect it to be him, so kind of didn't recognize him. And then you like give me a clear one. Oh, really? Because like it's one of those signings you're like, nah, not us. And like, even if he was going to go to a championship team, it wasn't us. It hasn't been us for a few seasons.
Yeah.
Like there was probably a time where we were that club because we were going up, coming down, like on the fringes of playoffs and stuff like that. But we haven't been that club for a good 2 or 3 seasons. So it's exciting to see that we're being like mentioned, by agents and stuff for players like that to come and join us. So I'm super excited by it, and like the kind of intent that it shows as well by him signing.
I think it's another thing to show how important keeping Bullet was.
Yeah.
I feel like if Errol Bullett's not at the club, there's no way that signing comes off. I think any of the signings we've made so far, I don't think they come off. The club looks, just by having the manager here for 12 months, the club instantly looks a bit more stable. There seems to be a bit more of a bedrock for players to buy into a project rather than going, oh, well, you sacked your last manager after 6 months. The one before that lasted only 3 months. So a lot more secure. Players feel like they can buy into the whole, like the term project's thrown about a lot. But yeah, the players can buy into it. They have something to believe in and say, right, he's not going to be gone after 6 months and I'm not going to be twiddling my thumbs, sort of wondering if I have a future here.
The question I was going to ask you, Ben, was about Perry NG. It seems like Perry NG had quite a big role in bringing El Ghazi to Cardiff. They seem to be friends. How?
Don't know. That was I was hoping you're the bloke that knew about all this stuff. I was hoping you could work this one out.
No, I ain't got a clue.
I've done, like the Always Sunny in Philadelphia pinboard sort of meme.
Yeah, got
it. Try to pin it down, and I can't see how a player who spent the time before coming to us at Crewe has suddenly linked up with and become best mates with a Premier League footballer like that. I know Crewe and Birmingham aren't stupidly far apart, but they're not exactly next door to each other. Can't work it out at all.
Tom, you look like you were really thinking then. Any bright sparks in that brain?
I reckon I want to hear like mad theories about how they're friends. I can imagine like they're both on one of those like off-season football breaks in Dubai, and they need someone else to go down one of the water slides in one of the water parks in one of those dinghies, and they just happen to be on the same one. And I think the friendship has like brewed and blossomed from there. So that's my theory, and I hope I'm right.
So you're picturing by the time they hit the bottom, they're both instantly picking up the tube and running back up to do it again.
100%. There's like a look, like they look at each other, and there's a nod, and then they go up, and then afterwards they've got a slush together, and they've just spent the day together. Then they've been in the wave machine. Perry and G's on his shoulders, and I could just see it. Someone needs suntan lotion on their back, and I think it was just a day that it's just blossomed, and we're benefiting from it now. Thank God it was El Ghazi and not someone else.
Who would have been the worst person for him to go down a slide with for you?
Alan Tate.
Oh. All right, Ben.
I was thinking the Big Show.
Oh yeah, okay. Different.
More literal.
That is like those sort of shit American sitcoms where one like complete opposites that make for hilarious consequences. Thinking about it, that might be one to watch.
Big Show and El Ghazi living in a house.
No,
together.
Big Show and Perry and G.
Oh, Big Show and Perry and G. Right, got it. Makes sense. Let's talk about some of the rumours that are kind of abound at the moment, Ben. The main one being Alex Robertson. The kind of latest on that towards the end of last week was that we kind of agreed with Alex Robertson that he was going to come to Cardiff, and it was up to us now to negotiate with Man City. Obviously, he's that 8 we've been looking for. There was talk that there was a player who was a priority target ahead of him, but it seems like we're gonna get Alex Robertson. Are you excited by that, Ben?
Yeah, I'm really excited. Like we said last week, anyone that plays 23 games and picks up 12 yellow cards, more than welcome at Cardiff City for me, because I loved Wits for a lot of things, but one of my favourite things was his just cynical scything fouls. And we haven't seen enough of that down the CCS. So, yeah, any player that can do that, bring him in.
Tom, obviously, previously we had Kiefer Roberto Francisco Moore. Do you think Alex Robertson's name, which is Alexander Sean Pablo Robertson, beats that in terms of the name stakes?
Oh, I wasn't expecting a Pablo.
I just looked it up. I didn't know there was a Pablo in there.
Sneaky Pablo. Yeah, I now like him more. Just for Pablo, really. That's really thrown me, actually. I really wasn't expecting Pablo. I don't know where you were going to go with it.
Well, I was going to go into about his
flair, doesn't it?
Yeah, I was going to go into his heritage because obviously he's born in Dundee, Scottish, with a Peruvian mother and Australian father. So obviously he's got a fantastic heritage, but a middle name Sean Pablo. Brilliant.
It sounds like one of those you off, isn't it? The Sean pill, like it's sort of like the drop off is short, and then Pablo out of nowhere. You're like, oh, yep.
It's like the McAllisters from Argentina, isn't he?
Yeah, you could just imagine the conversation. It's like, look, I've got to get something from my heritage in there, right? Like, I've had these conversations with an Australian about trying to throw a Welsh name in there. But I reckon if it was Peruvian, it'd be even more of a tough conversation. So I thought, just throw a Pablo in there. Just give me something. Just throw a Pablo in
there. Well, great. Yeah, I'm excited by it. And it's not just for his name as well. I think he could be a real difference maker in those kind of dark months in the season when things aren't going well. Someone like him who can come on and kind of turn a game would be fantastic. Tom, I'll come to you on this one, and Ben, I'll come to you on the last one. Obviously, the bad part of the Bristol Rovers game yesterday was what Errol Bullitt mentioned in his press conference afterwards. Isaac Davis out for 3 to 4 months. Tete, I think, is out for 3 months. Jamalu Collins out for sort of 6 to 8 weeks. He's already mentioned the need for more transfers. The transfer window's open for another sort of, I think it's about 26, 27 days till the end of the month. Does those injuries kind of force his hand in other positions where he didn't necessarily need to? We all expected Isaac Davis to have a great season this year. Jamalu Collins was probably our first choice left back. All of a sudden, we're left a bit short of left back. We need another striker to come in. Does that mean that he's going to change his priorities, or do you think they were kind of people he was looking at anyway?
I think it's quite unfortunate that it has happened in positions where we're probably slightly light as well. I think the Isaac Davis one, I'm just really frustrated for him. I think we were all looking forward to seeing him kick on. And like you look through like what in the predictions I'm going to go on to later on, a lot of people expected him to kick on this season. And, you know, he might come on second half of the season and do that. But I'm just really frustrated for him. And it's a young youth Welsh player again, you know, one that we really get behind. But I'm glad it's happened now and not in like 4 weeks' time. I think that's the only kind of thing we can, you know, positives we can kind of take from is the timing, because, you know, we clearly get a bit more backing than we normally do. So hopefully we do get a few more bodies in those positions through the door.
Ben, obviously, Bullett's kind of hinted at the fact we don't necessarily need to sell before we need to sign any more players. Obviously, Wintle probably gone. We're probably going to see the likes of Rinamotta. We're going to see the likes of Marlon Romeo probably get move on from the club. We've already seen Joe Colwell gone on loan. We'll probably see... We might see people like Capaccio get loan spells if they're not going to be kind of troubling the first team just yet. And then on the flip side, there's talk of another centre-half coming in. There's talk of another striker coming in. There's talk of Casey McAteer. We're still being linked with him. Leicester are talking about letting him go out on loan. Where do you need to strengthen now? Obviously, we've got the injuries. Where do you think we need to kind of bring in those players now to reinforce the team?
Centre-back is one for me. I think you look at it, the options. McGuinness has picked up a little knock and wasn't in the squad. You look at the options there, it is just those two now. 3 centre-backs for a full championship season isn't enough. Bagan's not a centre-back.
He seemed to play there yesterday.
Pardon?
He seemed to play there yesterday, Bacon.
He's played there a few times this pre-season, which sort of, again, makes me think Bullett's not quite sure about him at full-back. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, centre-back, left-back are two that I really think we could really do with. The rest, then, I think, are sort of bonuses. If we get another winger in, great, but I'm happy with our options there for the most part. I think strikers are the same. I think we can make do and sort of see where we are in January if we need to, but another striker is a bonus, especially after losing 2 for the time period. Because Davis might be out, he's going to be out for 3 to 4 months, but he's not going to get back up to speed till the new year, really, is he? Yeah. It's going to be a really tough period for him to come into. And even then, it's tough. He's missing the final bit of pre-season, getting that fine-tuning in. It might be...
I feel really sorry for him.
Let's get him. It really is sad that it's after the great season he had out on loan last year to come in and sort of straight away pick up this injury and sort of, I think it would have been better for him personally if it had happened after like 8 weeks, at least he had a little run in the team, or like it happened at Christmas and he misses the second half or whatever, because he's missing quarter of the season now. And I think he's going to really struggle to get back up to where he needs to be net for the rest of the season. It's just rough, man. So yeah, I think it's more defensively. I think we need to sort of look at strengthening for now.
Tom, is there anyone else that you think we need to strengthen?
No, I think that covers it, to be honest with you. I think we've done some good business, and we haven't lost anyone in key positions. So, yeah, I think that's a nice little summary.
Lovely stuff. Moving on to our predictions. It's the time we've all been waiting for. Ben Price, prepare the graphics. We do this every year. We try and predict what the table's going to look like at the end of the season. And Ben, do you want to talk people through the scoring so people can know and where we end? Do you have the scores from last season where somebody did a really good job and nobody else did?
I don't, but I remember you won, so that's why.
Thank you very much, Ben. That's all. Yep, thank you.
I'd give it to you for that. So yeah, basically we'll make league predictions now. We'll look at it probably around Christmas time, the halfway point, and at the end of the season. The aim is to score as low as possible, and you get a point for how many places each team is out either way. So last season I got the most accurate 0-pointers, but some of my predictions were outlandish, and I finished rock solid bottom. So
I don't think I got maybe one or two absolutely correct, but everything else was slightly closer than Ben, yeah. So that's why I won. And Tom was in the middle somewhere.
Cheers,
yeah. Right, we've all done our table predictions. Who wants to go first? Tom, do you want to go first because it's later at night in Australia?
Yeah, it's only 8 o'clock, but yeah, fine.
Yeah, well,
get rid of me. No, fine. Yeah. No, fine. Yeah. What do you want to do from bottom up, top down? What we saying?
You decide. It's dealer's choice.
Start at the bottom. Bottom. Okay. In 24th, I've got Blackburn. For some reason, I think they're going to absolutely stink the gaff up. I think they started fairly well last year and kind of started to tail off, and I think their bubble has burst a little bit. And I've got a feeling they'll be 24th, and I've got Preston in 23rd because I'm just a bit sick of them doing nothing all the time, and I think I put them pretty low last year, and I think it's just more wishful thinking. 22nd, gone Oxford. I'd like to think that they might shock a few people, but I don't think they will. Then I'll go a bit quicker through these. I've got Plymouth 21st, Derby 20th, Sheffield Wednesday in 19th. I've got Watford in 18th, Swansea in 17th because I just can't bring myself to put them any higher. That still felt a little bit dirty. Millwall 16th, Portsmouth 15th, Stoke 14th. Sunderland 13th, QPR 12th.
Interesting.
Norwich 11th, Hull 10th. Then I got Bristol City in 9th.
Interesting.
I don't know about them. I can't work them out. Then in plucky 8th, obviously Middlesbrough. 7th, West Brom. Still no Cardiff. Luton in 6th.
Whoa.
And then I've gone Cardiff in filthy 5th.
Whoa, filthy 5th. We're going
so much like a new range of merch.
Yeah. So this is the second chapter, filthy 5th. Sheffield United 4th. I've got Coventry in 3rd. And I was very tempted to put them higher. Burnley 2nd. And then, annoyingly, I think Leeds will win it.
Very interesting. I mean, I could jump into mine because they're not a million miles off, if I'm being completely honest. So I've gone relegation zones, Derby, Blackburn, Plymouth. Plymouth in 24th, Blackburn in 23rd, Derby in 22nd. I just can't look past Wayne Rooney at Plymouth. I
forgot about that shit. Can I change mine already?
Nope, you can't. You've already said it. I can't see his massive Easter Island head, and I think they're going to get relegated. Blackburn, I agree, going to have a stinker. I think Derby, Paul Warren's never really done it at this level. So I think they could be in trouble. Then 21st, I've got Millwall. I've got 20th, Preston. 19th, I put QPR because I just think I don't like them and I'd like to see them have a really bad season. 18th, Watford as well. I think Watford could stink up the gaff. 17th, Swansea. So we were basically the same on that because I think I don't like Swansea, obviously, and I just can't bring myself to put them anything higher than mid-table. 16th, Portsmouth. 15th, Bristol City. I think Oxford could surprise a few people. I put them in at 14th. I think Des Buckingham is a pretty good manager. I think they've done some pretty shrewd business this summer. I think they could surprise a few people. In the middle, I've got your Sheffield Wednesdays, your Stokes and your Hulls, 13th, 12th, 11th. Sunderland, I've gone for 10th. Some people are predicting them to win the league. Who are they? Are they mental? Are their brains broken? 9th, Norwich. 8th, West Brom. I've gone for us in sexy 7th. I think we're just going to miss out. But I put us up on the knocking on the doors. And then your top 6 is as you'd expect it. Your Lutons are in 6th. Sheffield United are in 5th. Burnley, I've gone for 4th because Scott Parker's a prick. 3rd, I've gone Middlesbrough. 2nd, I've gone Coventry. Leeds are going to win the league. I think Coventry, some of the business they've done, and some if they keep somehow Hadji Wright, Ellis Sims, and they've just signed that lad from West Brom, that could be the difference for them going up and being in the playoffs. But that's my 24. Ben, over to you.
Mine are a bit different.
Whoa!
Yeah,
Bill Waltop.
So yeah, 24th, like you, I can't see past anyone other than Plymouth being bottom with Rooney as manager.
Oh, sorry, Aaron Hocking, if you do listen. Unlucky, mate.
23rd, I've gone for Oxford. I feel like if you're a championship side playing Kieran Brown at centre back while he's doing a shift at Sex, it ain't going to happen. And they lost their talisman in Josh Murphy.
Computer exchange, not shagging.
Yeah. 22nd, QPR. 21st, Bristol City.
Whoa, I need it. Well, Lee Johnson isn't there anymore, but
no. 20th, Portsmouth. 19th, Derby. And we've all gone for this, which is bizarre. 18th, I've gone for Watford.
Fascinating.
It's because we probably forgot about them. Just like, I'll put them there.
No, I had a conversation about them yesterday, so I knew I was always
well done.
17th, I've gone Sheffield Wednesday. 16th, Millwall. 15th, Stoke. 14th, Sunderland. 13th, Preston, because they're always going to finish around mid-table no matter what.
No, they're going down. Sorry.
12th for some. I've gone Blackburn. I don't know why, but I went Blackburn 12th, thinking they might do.
Have you put Swansea in yet?
Yeah, they're 11th.
Okay.
Oh, right. Okay, that's just about acceptable.
Yeah, Swansea are 11th. 10th, Norwich. 9th, Hull City. This is where it gets a bit controversial then. So 8th is Sheffield United. I don't think they're going to get playoffs. 7th, Coventry. I really like their business. I agree, but I don't know why. I just think so many disappointments, so close, so much. I think they've lost a couple of decent players like O'Harego and stuff like that. I just feel like they might have lost that little bit of belief. Then in Sly 6th, I've gone Cardiff City.
Sly 6th. So we've got what? Filthy 5th, sexy 7th, and Sly 6th.
Yeah, I think we're going to sneak in on the last day, nip in ahead of Coventry. We're going to be the last final day drama. 5th, Luton. 4th, West Brom. Don't know why. Can't explain.
No, I don't disagree with you on that one. I was tempted.
Yeah, West Brom could be anywhere in the top 6 for me, really.
Yeah, I don't know, something about them just feels like they're going to click. And they seem to have an idea of what they're doing. It's either going to work really well or it's going to fall apart spectacularly.
Yeah.
3rd, I've gone for Middlesbrough. Again, I think just Carrick have a chance to bed in. I think he's going to do well. Annoyingly, 2nd, I've gone Leeds 2nd and Burnley 1st. And while I completely agree that Scott Parker is an absolute fraud of a bloke who wears terrible cardigans, that Burnley side's quite good. I think what they did last year, I think he's just got a habit of taking teams that are already well invested, chucking a few quid. And I think it's not down to his managerial expertise at all, but I think that squad's probably the best squad in the Championship. So they'll go up.
Yeah, I just don't like Scott Parker. And I just think Leeds... I was worried about Leeds at the start. I wasn't worried. I don't ever really worry about Leeds. But at the start of the season, it looked like they were going to have a flash sale and sell all their players. So far, they've managed to buy quite shrewdly, but they've only just sold Somerville. And I think last season they were slow to start, and I think Farker's not going to have that this year, and they're just going to hit the ground running, I think, in a way that we haven't seen. So that's just why I won for Leeds. Right, Ben, you're going to make those graphics?
Yep, you have to send me over your predictions.
I will. I'll put them in a Google Doc. And if you go to our Twitter, twitter.com/VFTN Ninian, you'll find the graphics over the coming days, and you can laugh and point as much as you want and then tell us how we don't know anything about football, which we don't. We just know a lot about Cardiff City. We also did... So on Twitter, we asked for your predictions. we were overwhelmed with replies. I was expecting 20 to 30. We had over 90 at last count. So thank you very much for everyone who has replied. We're not ignoring them. We're going to pull together a kind of view from the Ninian prediction league of some sort for everyone who put their predictions in, and then we'll organise something. We'll keep a track of it throughout the season and potentially organise a prize at the end of the year for the person who had the best predictions or the closest predictions, whatever it may be. So we'll figure that out and come back with some more information on that next week. We'll also share the spreadsheet so people can see exactly what other people put in, point and laugh and all that kind of stuff. What we've done now is we've gone through, I asked a set of questions, where we finish, league winners, our top scorer, disappointment of the season, our player of the season, youth player with the biggest impact, and something niche that is going to happen throughout the season. We've all done our own. I'll come to Ben first. Ben, what were your predictions? Obviously, we've done where we'll finish and all that kind of stuff. But
so obviously finishing Sly sixth, top scorer. I'm going for it. I've got big belief in him. I'm going Kanga top scorer.
Beautiful. That's what we want to see.
Disappointment of the season. I think we're going to have a rough Christmas because that's just traditional because we can't have too many nice things. Player of the season, I've gone for Callum O'Dowda.
Interesting.
Oh, nice.
I really like O'Dowda. Either as left back or left wing, we just look like a much, much better side with him in the squad. So if he can stay fit, I feel like he's going to be really important. That said, lead winners, I can't even say it. League winners, even.
Still can't say it. Go on, have a go.
League winners.
In first place, Burnley. Youth player with the biggest impact. I've gone for Eli King. I think he's going to have a wicked season. He just looks ready to break through. And something niche you think will happen this season. I think in a press conference, Errol Bullitt will finally admit that he gets all his clobber now while he goes back to Turkey.
Good. Spot on. Yeah, I like it. Tom?
Where we finish, filthy fifth, trademark. Top scorer, Callum Robinson, because, a couple of weeks ago, I said that I'm fully behind it. I think he's going to do well. So I'm nothing but consistent.
Tell you what would be bad is if you wrote an article in 442 slagging him out.
Yeah.
I've already
did.
I actually said I think he's a good player. It just hasn't worked out for him here.
Yet. But yeah, so I've got him as top scorer. Disappointment of the season, and I really, really, really hope I'm wrong. I've put Ruben Colwill.
Oh no!
But I don't want to go into it more because it upsets me. Player of the season, Robbo aside, I think Callum Chambers is going to be massive for us. So, and because I think that Callum Robinson might score 20 goals, and if that I think that automatically gives you player of the year. But outside of that, I think Callum Chambers, league winners Leeds, youth player I put Capaccio because again I said it 2 weeks ago, and I want to stay consistent. And then something niche, I've gone for Horvath to score an injury time equaliser at some point this season.
Please.
And I'll do mine. So where we finish, sexy seventh. Who's going to win the league? Leeds top scorer. I've gone Willock. Your classic 10 to 12 goals from someone like Willock. Ben, you're not going to like this. Disappointment of the season. Kanga. I just don't think he's going to work out in the way that we want him to. Player of the season. We've already talked about him. Joey Rouse. I think he's going to prove a lot of people wrong this season. Youth player with the biggest impact. I couldn't pick one, so I've gone for two. I thought you'd go Eli King, and I didn't want to kind of encroach on that. So I've gone either Conte or Ashford. I think Conte could have a really good season from right back when he gets the chance. And I think Ashford could, especially now with Isaac Davis injured, Ashford could bypass him a little bit and fill that space. And then a niche thing to happen, a tackle from Perry NG will take the ball into the crowd and knock out the lad with the sombrero at QPR away. That's more wishful thinking from my part, but I think it could happen. Small ground. NG loves a big tackle in the corner. The guy, if he doesn't knock him out, he knocks the sombrero off his head. And that's our niche predictions of the season. It's good, wasn't it?
It's just what's going to happen to his rattle? I just, I could just see
all
it.
you can hear is.
There's niche and there's singling out one individual from another team.
He's a twat.
I completely agree. Anyone that wears a sombrero to a football match is a tosser, but fucking that is beyond niche.
We will, as I said, we will go through everybody else's predictions, pull up a Google sheet, and make sure that everyone's predictions get a fair airing over the course of the couple of weeks. But for now, we've all picked out 3 of our favourites from the. I'm just going to focus on the niche predictions here, because I think the niche predictions are the funniest things that we've seen for a little while. I'll go through my 3. So I picked out Alan Griffith. He says that Warnock will come back to keep Plymouth up after Rooney stinks the gaff out. I think it's very, very feasible. Sam Hill said Galinovic, the goalkeeping coach, gets sent down the tunnel for headbutting someone. And Ben Griffo has said one of Mate's shot will go out for a throw-in and he will go down injured after it, which I think is fantastic. Ben, over to you.
I didn't realize that's what you were going for because you've changed the rules here. But I'm going to go... One of them, I've gone for Di Richards. Di seems very
Las Vegas correspondence.
So I'm just going to go in with the whole thing for this because there's context to it. Where we'll finish first, it's our time. Disappointment of the season, not beating the points record for the championship. Then something mental happens, and how this isn't his niche thing because it doesn't make sense otherwise is league winners, Burnley. So what you've got there is Cardiff City finishing first, narrowly missing out on the championship points record, but somehow Burnley winning the league. Don't know what goes on for the rest of the season, but how that isn't the niche thing, I don't know. But Di was a bit confused there.
I enjoyed that. Any more favourites, Ben, or is that just it?
Yeah, I got a couple. We've got Dan Morgan. Something niche will happen is Ruben at Colwell appearing in Team of the Season. I don't think that's niche. I think that could happen. But Dan's a good lad anyway. And then Tom Lang. Something niche. Errol won't wear club gear all season and will look like fabulous like the style guru he is. And also congratulations to Brett and Tom for the sex they had and the baby.
Very
Christ.
Very cute. Congratulations to Brett and Tom. Yeah, Tom, you going to say congratulations?
Sorry, instead of just like huffing. Yeah, congratulations.
Tom, over to you for yours.
I picked on Mark Carter just because of his niche one. He said Robbo will bring out his own range of men's fragrance after hearing VFTN talk about how he smelled.
He smells fantastic.
What do you reckon he'd name it?
Stealth.
No, CR47.
Yeah, CR47.
Yeah.
Or Grealish.
What else did I pick out? Oh, yeah. I went for Milo just because his something niche is just like a typical Cardiff response of Wintle scores a belter against us. I think we'll all feel that. We'll mention it in the run-up to whatever game he's playing against us for sure. And then there was one more that I picked out. This is the problem when there's so many responses. But okay, Scott W90 with one of the most negative ones. I thought we needed. It's been a very optimistic pod, so let's put on balance. Finished 21st. Top scorer Willock. Disappointment Siopis. Player of the season Horvath. That's already negative. The fact is not to be a keeper. League winners Leeds. Youth impact Conte. Niche bullet gone in 10 games. That's what we wanted.
That's what we want. And that's how we end the predictions part with a bit of negativity. But seriously, thank you to everyone who has replied. Like I said, we had an overwhelming number of responses. We could have done a whole podcast specifically about the predictions. So we will make sure that everyone gets a fair airing. We'll make sure they're featured at some point over the coming weeks. We'll highlight the best ones. We'll highlight them all in detail, and we'll do some kind of competition to whoever gets closest at the end of the year. Like a Super Six thing. If you get 6 out of 7, and we'll organise something for you at the end of the season. So keep it locked to our Twitter, twitter.com/VFTNinian. We're almost coming up to an hour, so let's rattle through the rest. But Ben, we've already done our kind of specific predictions, but broadly, we're all optimistic about the season. We're all looking at it as going to be a good season. We're excited for the players we signed. Do you think it's going to transpire into that good season? Do you think it's broadly going to be something that we all enjoy over the course of the next 9 months?
I really hope so. So far, there's plenty of encouraging things. Look, Bullett's really bought into everything going on. The players seem to be on board with it, and we're sort of improving the style. And alongside that, we've not had a peep from any of the board. And that's always a good thing. It's normally around now they're sort of coming out with outlandish statements and just creating rods for their own backs. The fact that they're quiet seems to suggest everything's going well and we don't need to hear from them. If we can go,
suggest everything's going well, or they finally trust someone just to get on with the football side of things?
I think that's a huge part of it. Is they just trust in Bullet that he can just kick on with this now and they don't need to come out and say stuff. Darman doesn't need to go on TalkSport and just chat a load of shite. Just stay in the shadows. Just keep putting money in. We'll take the money. We don't want to hear from you. Just stay like that for the rest of the year, and hopefully everything will go smooth. And I think that's a huge factor in this. And sort of the positivity for me is just they're not there. There's no involvement from them, sort of like from a front-facing side.
Tom, do you agree?
Yeah, I do agree. I think it all comes down to some of these parts kind of slotting in nicely. Like I mentioned earlier, if like Chambers, El Ghazi, Ramsey, Robbo, like, or just a couple of them click, then we're in for a good season. The league's wide open. Like, you've still got some big clubs in there, but they're big clubs who've got a lapse in them. They're ones that could falter. They're ones that could fuck up, like Sheffield United finishing outside the playoffs. I don't think that's like ludicrous. I think that would have been ludicrous last year with someone like Leicester, but there's not clubs like that this year who are going to like run away with it. So I'm really excited for it. Like, we could easily finish like in the bottom half of the table, or we could be in the top half. And I think that's where the optimism's coming from. It's more hope than expectation. But I think we're ready for an exciting season. We're giving it a good go, and I think that's what I'm looking forward to. So, no, bring it on. I'm really, really excited for it to get going next week.
Then we've kind of talked about top scorers, youth players having the biggest impact on the squad, but generally throughout the squad, throughout the players that we've brought in, we talked about Kanga, Willock, Robertson. Who do you think is going to have the biggest impact for us?
I think it's Ramsey on and off the pitch. I think a fit and firing Aaron Ramsey, you can come in and if you can get half a season out of him, what an impact he's going to make. Then alongside that, just adding a bit of quality out wide, like Willock and stuff. Just again, it's if they click. There's question marks, but there's a reason these players are in the Championship is because there's question marks over them and they're not always the most consistent. But yeah, Ramsey then Willock are two huge factors for me.
Tom, you've already mentioned Chambers. Do you think it's him who's going to have the biggest impact on the team?
Yeah, I think so. I think that, like you talk about Ramsey being a calming influence, Chambers is exactly that, just behind him. So I think we've got players like Willock now being mentioned by Ben. We've got enough quality players in our squad now that I'm forgetting about others. Like, we're not just relying on two. We've got people like across the pitch, we've got a bit of depth there. But yeah, the likes of Chambers, I think, will be massive. And I think the person who's got the biggest impact, I think, is Bullet now. Like, he's got his players in. It is his team now. It's his squad. He can put his style of play on it. And it's either going to work or it's not going to work. And it's down to that now. So I'm really excited to see what he can come up with this year. And he hasn't got any excuses anymore, So I'm really excited to see what he can produce.
I'm interested to see that because it clearly is his players, isn't it? And I think the January transfer window was emblematic of a club previously where it was a transfer by committee. And, I feel sorry for him, but people like Di Turnbull could be the players who missed out in all this because all of a sudden they're falling down the pecking order because we've signed all these players ahead of him. Alex Robertson is going to push Di Turnbull down the pecking list even more. And, he was only signed in January, but that's only a good thing in my mind if Bullett's got the players that he now trusts and can now trust to implement a new way of playing, which it seems to be doing in the preseason. So I'm really excited for that reason. I think people like, we've already talked about, but Chambers and Willock are going to have the biggest impact because they're people who change the way we play and change the way we act as a team. And I think that's really important. Then we've got the 4 derbies to look forward to. Obviously, it'd be remiss of us. We were 3 for 4 last year, obviously only losing to Swansea late in the season, which was, I think, a big reason for why some of the players that we've already mentioned, people like Ryan Wintle, are on their way out. Bullock talked about players hiding in that game, and I think that's what we're looking at here. How do you think the derby's going to go this season? Obviously, Bristol, Swansea, there. I don't know about Bristol's transfer activity as much as Swansea. Swansea have signed some quite neat-looking players. The guy from Bordeaux looks quite good, but there's still question marks over Luke Williams' football and whether he's going to get the impact that he wants. How do you see the 4 derbies going this year?
I want us to be unbeaten in them. I'm not going to go out and say we should be expecting to win all of them, but if we can go unbeaten in all 4 derbies, that goes a long way to sort of keeping that good feeling around the club going. Especially with the South Wales derby so early in the season this year.
It's mad, isn't it?
If we can come away from the, whatever they call it, is it Swansea.com stadium? No?
Yeah.
We can come away from there sort of middle of August with a point or just not losing. That's a huge sort of relief from the outset then. The risk of the double is gone. They haven't got that doob or whatever they want to call it this time. It is just then focus on everything else and crack on.
Tom, do you agree?
I think we'll do the double over Swansea. I think playing them away early is good for us. I think we're feeling like fairly settled as a fan base at the moment. I think it's important that we start the season well next week as well, just so to carry on that optimism through. But like they've made some decent signings down there, but like there's still question marks, there's still rumblings in their fan base that it's not enough and they haven't got depth and stuff like that. So it feels like we're riding a wave of like good feeling for once going down there. I'm not as confident about beating like Bristol away this year. I got a feeling they might do quite well, but to be honest with you, if we do the double over Swansea, I think I can get over the fact that we don't win at Ashton Gate.
I mean, it's absolutely classic, isn't it? That they're coming into the summer a bit disappointed and a bit upset, and we're coming in so excited. And now they're just going to absolutely dash our hopes, aren't they, on August the 25th?
Yeah, come on now. Come on.
I had to present some kind of realism. I won't go into players who are going to disappoint. We've already touched upon players who will disappoint. But Ben, it bears repeating, right? It feels like we've had a really good summer. We're a week away from the season starting, 6 days away from the season starting. Everyone talks about it being a tough start, but the summer we've had, the players who are now fit that weren't fit towards the end of last season, people like Ramsey, people like Robinson coming back into the squad, the signings we've made, last season we were optimistic, but it was always tempered with, well, last season we finished 23rd, so let's see how it goes. It feels like now, Ben, we are making strides towards even more improvement, doesn't it? And it feels like we're going into the season with just good feeling across the fan base, which is only a good thing, right?
Yeah, look, last year was the foundation block, wasn't it? Everything's been laid there, and we've gone into the summer and come out of it before the season started looking a lot stronger in our weakest points than we were before. I think that's huge. I think part of what we had with January was we were excited and optimistic about building on what we had, but we came out trying to debate whether we were stronger, whether we were weaker. There's no doubt about this now coming into this season that the team that started the season last year compared to this team were a lot stronger. And that's massive for us to really sort of just kick on now and really push for that and push for that playoff spots now, because I think that's what the club are expecting. The club are expecting a top 6 push for the season. They know it's not going to be easy. It might not be straightforward, but I think injuries aside, there's a squad there that's capable of challenging it this year.
Tom, you obviously went filthy fifth. You're probably the most optimistic of the three of us, and you do get carried away. How are you feeling, with everything that's going on? Do you think filthy fifth is realistic, or is it just you being slightly excited?
It's a bit of both. Like, I think there's like 10 teams who could fall into that category of finishing 15th or finishing 5th sort of thing. I think it's so wide open for that kind of, especially the middle part of the table, that there's no reason why it can't be us if things fall into place. And like things have to go almost perfectly for us this season for that 5th place to happen. But it's a possibility. Like, that's our best case scenario. In reality, like, we're probably more of a mid-table team, but we've just got players in that squad now. Like Ben was saying, we are so much stronger than we were before. And we haven't really lost anyone yet. And there's still time, right? There's a month left and we can still lose some of our better players, but it doesn't feel like we're going to. And I think the combination of not losing the players that we want to keep and bringing in that quality really stands us in good stead. Some of the players need to gel, but there's not that much gelling that needs to be done for us to kind of click. So I'm hoping that we have a fairly decent start to the season in the first couple of months, and then suddenly we are looking at that playoff picture, not looking over our shoulder like we have been doing over the last few seasons.
And the first game kicks off next Saturday, 12:30, home to Sunderland. Ben, Bullock kind of referenced that his Bristol Rovers team was probably the closest to the starting line that you'd expect to see, barring a couple of injuries. And obviously, we've already talked about the injuries. You mentioned that it's a goal scorer off, potentially a playoff pushing team. Are you happy with that team to start the season? Is that the team that you think is going to give it a go in the first few games?
I think he might go with Robinson. I think he might show faith in him to lead the line against Sunderland and say, right, we've had this chat, we've had the straightener, let's...
Straightener?
Well, you know what I mean? They've had the sort of heart-to-heart sort of thing of just, you want to be the main man, go ahead and prove it now. I think if he does that, it could be a genius stroke of management as well. I think it could be really tough for Robinson if he doesn't start on Saturday, after that sort of comments he's had in the pre-seasons he's had. it could sort of be a disheartener straight from the offset. I think he's got to start, but other than that, I think it would be the squad we started with at Rovers.
Tom, we've already talked about it being a tough league, but Sunderland is a good kind of marker, isn't it, to start the season? There's people who think they're going to do quite well. There's people who think they might not do quite well. But they're kind of in a similar boat to us, really, that people don't really know where to place them. So how important is it then that we go out on that game and just show the rest of the league that we're here to be taken seriously?
Yeah, it's the ideal time to set our stall for the season. Like you said, they're kind of a good marker for us. There's about 10 teams who are that good marker. We probably end up saying this quite a lot this season.
Yeah.
So, but these are the teams that we kind of need to beat. These types of teams, if we are to finish in the playoff picture, especially not lose to our home. We were losing to too many teams at home last season. So I think it's important to kind of keep that good feeling throughout the club by, at least getting a point. But if we beat them, we're off and running. And, Sunderland, like you said, some people are tipping them to be top. So beating them early in the season is a really good indicator to see where we're at early doors.
Right, predictions. We've gone over an hour, which is rare for us. Ben, what's the score going to be?
I'll go 2-1 City.
Who's scoring?
Robinson and Gutas.
Who's scoring for Sunderland?
Simon Moore, because it's the curse of the ex-player.
Simon Moore play for him?
He signed for him, yeah.
Fucking hell. Tom, prediction?
2-0.
Who's going to score?
Robinson, Brace.
All right, lovely stuff. I'm going to go 3-1, and I'm going to go Robinson, Willock, and Gutas with the goals. And that's it. Our prediction podcast is in the bag. View from the Ninian over and out. I don't know what that was. If you like what we do, twitter.com/VFTN Ninian. We'll follow up with our predictions on there so you can see what other people have predicted, what we predicted, and you can all have a little laugh and a joke at our expense. If you like what we do and want to give us some money, kofi.com/VFTN Ninian. We'll be back after the Sunderland game next week when hopefully we'll be toasting 3 points and a great start to the season. See you then.